This tutorial is going to cover the question, why do we see a bright line emission spectrum? We just finished a lab with a flame test where we took a salt and put it in a Bunsen burner flame and saw various colors come off depending on the salt. We also saw various gas tubes that were put through electricity, and we looked through a spectroscope and were able to see bands of color that came from that gas tube when electricity went through it. So that we're answering the question, why do we see a bright line emission spectrum? Well, there's two different ways that our atom, which is composed of protons and neutrons inside the nucleus, with the electrons on the outside. And the electrons, because of the added heat through the Bunsen burner or putting them through the electricity, the electrons gained energy. So what I did here was I drew the energy levels of an atom. Now this is what Bohr originally thought, that electrons resided in orbitals that had set distances from this nucleus. Well, that isn't the case. What we understand now is there are different levels or different set distances that electrons can be found, and we call those energy levels. Like the first level is the closest to the nucleus, the second is further out, and the third is the farthest in this diagram. And within each energy level there are a certain number of electrons and certain types of orbitals or specific shapes, three-dimensional shapes, that we consider electrons to reside in. In the first energy level, we would consider it to reside in an S-shaped orbital. So there's only one type of orbital in the first energy level. In this second energy level, we have an S and a P. S is spherical, P is peanut-shaped. In the third level, we have S, P, and D orbitals. Spherical, peanut-shaped, and four-lobed. So what ends up happening, the reason why we see this bright line spectrum is that electrons, let's say this electron, it's in its ground state where it's found, and we're going to say it's found in the first energy level. When it absorbs some of this heat or electricity, it will be brought out further from the nucleus. That energy can be used to remove it from its ground state position and bring it to an unstable, excited state. So we're kind of breaking up that attraction that it has between the protons and the electrons, the positive and the negative. When it's in this excited state, it's not very stable and therefore releases energy in the form of light. And this light now exhibits wave-like properties with specific wavelengths and frequencies and composed of photons, which are bundles of energy. Now, this electron went from the first energy level and it absorbed enough energy to take it to the third. In this example here, it went from the first only to the second, and we see a different color release. The same kind of thing happens. It absorbs energy, moves away from the nucleus to an excited state, unstable, and it releases this energy in the form of a wave and composed of photons of energy. So now we see a red color. These different colors indicate that depending on how much energy the electron absorbs, that will be the same amount of energy it releases. So if the electron absorbs more energy, it will release darker colors in the visible spectrum, such as the blue, indigos, and violets. If it absorbs less energy, it will release less energy in the form of a red, orange, or yellow light. So that Roy G. Biv is really an ordering of the energy, this is increasing energy of that wave. And the different energy can also be associated to wavelength and to frequency.